Again, we're really honored to have Lora here with us today, and it's just especially inspiring because I don't know about you, but there are some days where I can get kind of grouchy or whiny, and the situations that I'm upset about, they shrink in comparison to the kind of things that Laura's endured and many of you. So it's just a great encouragement to be reminded of that, and that God is faithful, and that He will help us through whatever it is we go through. So, no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and have Laura come on and make her way up here and grab this for us. Give her a hand.
Good morning. Wow, it's an honor to stand here today. I'm just grateful. I wondered about that. Is it on? There it is. Now can you hear me? Yes, no. This is yes, this is no. Okay. Wow, you guys are going to be a difficult audience today. That's okay. When things like that happen, it's easier. It makes me calm down just a little bit. Oh, goodness. A few months ago, actually, I was invited to be a part of a podcast. Those things are new to me. It's kind of like radio that you get to choose when you listen to it. This is like a discussion time for those of you who aren't familiar with podcasts. And so I had a new friend invite me to be part of his podcast, and the theme he was using was called Hold On. His question was, why is it that people are going to church so much less? Why is it that people who once believed have quit believing? What kind of things happen in your life that make you just decide that God is not paying attention, or not good, or doesn't care? Well, that's a pretty easy question to answer. It's when God either does something or allows something that you don't think is fair, or when God doesn't intervene when you thought He should have. And so you're left with these questions of, who is God, and why didn't He come through for me? That's why we leave our faith. And so in this podcast, he was interviewing people that did leave their faith for a while and then returned, and why, and those who decided to stay with their faith. And that's where I came into this. So this morning, I want to try to answer that question of why do you choose to keep believing? And is God good? In fact, how do you find healing for the bad things that happen in your life? That's where we're going this morning. And with that, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, help us to just pause a moment and breathe in your presence. Thank you that you are here, that your Spirit is here, that you care about us, and that you're capable of speaking to every single one of us all at the same time. And I stand amazed in your presence. And that's what I ask you to do. To open our ears, open our hearts to hear from you this morning, and to the particular story that we are walking individually. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so the first question is, does time really heal all wounds? Does it? Okay, now think about that. If time really heals all wounds, then all old people are peaceful. Oh, you don't believe that? No, I don't either. I've met people that have been bitter and hurt all of their life, haven't you? And at the same time, I have met young people that when they tell me their story and I see the peace in their eyes, I think, wow, you have figured out something. So it is not time that heals all wounds. Well, okay, so if time is not the healer, then is there just a point in time where you decide, okay, this is going to stop hurting and I'm going to move on with life? I can scan the crowd this morning and see those that have been told to just move on. It's hurtful, isn't it?
Yes.
When somebody says, get over it, just move on.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to say that probably they did not say that to you out of meanness. They said it because people get tired of our tears before we're done with them. And it's not even that they're tired of them, it's just that they want to fix it for you, and there isn't any way to fix it, so they try to get you to stop hurting, because that'll be easier. Right?
Right.
So it's out of their concern for your heart that they say, can't you just go on? But there's not a period of time when you can just say, okay, I'm done hurting, and from now on, I'm going to stop. It just doesn't happen. So, do the tears ever stop? Does the pain ever stop? I'm reminded of a time long before the accident in my life, when my father had passed away unexpectedly. And of course, we all went home. But I stayed with Mom about a week after everybody left. And in one of those rare moments when our mom spoke of her emotions, she didn't do. She said to me, burying your dad is not near as difficult as it was to bury my son. Now, I was blown away by that, because Mom and Dad had been married almost 50 years. And at the point when she told me that, it had been 33 years since my brother had died. And he had died as an infant, as a 3-day-old baby. I never got to meet him. But Mom was saying, that is still harder than burying your dad this week. I was just astounded by that. I pondered it deep within my soul. And then, a couple of years later, again, still before the accident that took my family and my life, we were living in Grand Island, Nebraska, and something really horrible happened to one of my children. And it caused great grief, great fear, great turmoil, just tons of tears. And we were able to intervene in the situation, and our daughter was now safe. But the tears just wouldn't stop coming. And so one day, we were driving someplace, I don't remember, and I'm not driving. Jay is driving, my husband, and I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and I'm just bawling again. And I cried out to God, and I said, will the tears ever stop? And he said to me, no, my child, tears for a child never stop. And you might know that. Those of you who have raised children, you never stop caring, do you? You never stop hurting when your child is hurting. And that's what God was saying to me. He was saying, I'm never going to stop hurting while you're hurting. You're my child, and I'm never going to stop hurting while you're hurting. Okay, so time goes by. A few years later, the accident happens, and my family all goes to be with the Lord all at once. And I'm left with all these same questions. What do I do with the tears? What do I do with the pain? If in fact, time does not heal the pain, and if in fact, tears never stop, then what? What does healing of the heart look like? Well, it wasn't very long after the accident that God asked me to start sharing the stories of the things that he had done already. I didn't understand them all. I certainly didn't have any answers. And yet I find myself standing in front of groups of people saying, here's what God has done so far. I don't know what he's going to do next. I don't understand all of this. And so I started saying to God, all right, you want me to talk? You better tell me what it is I'm going to say. What is it to find healing of the heart? If my heart is never going to stop hurting, what is that? And little by little by little, God began to explain that to me. First, with any other kind of wound, healing comes when the pain is gone, right? But with the heart, it doesn't work like that. With the heart, the the more you hurt, the more your heart almost seems to expand. And all of a sudden, it is big enough to handle all kinds of emotions. It's just that there's two different ways that we approach it. Sometimes we just get lost in the pain and we want to live there and stay there all the time. And we don't want any other emotions in our lives. We just want to live in the pain. And sometimes we decide we don't want any of this pain, so we attempt to deaden it. And almost every way that we attempt to deaden pain is sinful. Just almost. Because we run away from emotions. But what God showed me was when a heart is healed is when it works. When it works. And how did God create our heart? He created it to be able to express every emotion all the way from the deepest tears you'll ever cry to the most glorious joy you've ever experienced. And all of the emotions in between. He created your heart to be able to express all of those. Why? Because He has all of those emotions, and we're created in His image. So when we try to stop one side of that spectrum or the other, we try to make ourselves stop hurting, or we try to make ourselves, and only experience joy, or when we try to just kill off all joy and live in the pain. Both ways, our heart is not working. So when we allow God to bring healing to our heart, we are allowing Him to, we are telling Him we're willing to express all of those emotions. The phrase that He gave me was, healing is not the absence of pain. It's allowing joy to enter a heart of pain. That's why sometimes God asks, do you want to be healed? Let's look at John chapter 5. And I'll show you a time when Jesus asked exactly that question to a man sitting beside a fountain. John chapter 5, beginning in verse 1. It says, sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, do you want to get well? Really? You think, well, who wouldn't want to get well, right? But the cool thing about Jesus is He knows exactly what's in your heart. He knows what question to ask you. So what was it about this man that made him question whether he wanted to get well? You can see part of it in his answer. In verse 7 he said, Sir, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. Well, there's a piece of him that wanted to get well, or he wouldn't be sitting beside the pool. But he knew the odds of him getting into that pool were really low. So he was a little afraid to hope. Because it's risky to ask for healing. Like for me, if I decide to allow joy into my heart of pain, there might be people that think that I am no longer mourning my children, and that might be distasteful to them. It might look like that. If I allow love to enter a heart of pain, I might find myself falling in love. Now, I'm not so sure I want to do that. Because that's risky. That's risking loss again. Yeah. If I allow hope to enter my heart of pain, I risk disappointment, don't I? All of those things come together. This man, he was afraid. He was afraid to hope because he thought, yet again, like for the last 37 years, he was going to be disappointed. But I love the fact that Jesus knew that. He knew everything about him. He knew that he couldn't even say, yes, I want to get well. He just offers this excuse. Well, yeah, I want to, but it ain't going to happen. Right? And so he says to him in verse 8, Jesus said to him, get up, pick up your mat and walk. Now this is a big moment of choice for this man. Now is he going to hope? Is he going to hope that Jesus really can do it? Can he really stand up? In that very moment, he made the choice. And at once, the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. Do you want to be healed? That's the first step for healing of your heart. Deciding if you want to be healed. To find it, you have to trust God. Because he is the only author of healing. So you're going to have to trust him. You're going to have to trust him. Because time's not the healer, and your own will is not the healer. It is only God that is the healer. Let's look at another story. This one in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 7. This is a story that is very dear to my heart, and it will be easy to see why. Luke chapter 7, beginning in verse 11. Soon afterward, Jesus went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went along with him. As he approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. And a large crowd from the town was with her. And this is just a funeral procession that Jesus walked up in the middle of. As a widow, she doesn't have anybody to care for her. And this is her son, which as we continue, we can see that he was an adult. So he was the means to take care of her. She had no way to take care of herself without her son and her husband. So you can imagine the depths of her pain that day as she's following this casket down the street for him to be buried. And Jesus just happens to walk up into that situation. Verse 13. When the Lord saw her, when Jesus saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, don't cry. I'm going to break that verse apart a little bit for you. The Lord saw her. You know what it's like when somebody actually sees you? You know what it's like when somebody doesn't see you, right? Like you're busy going through Walmart checkout and you got everything in your head that you need to do when you get out of here, or you just read a text, or you just read a Facebook post, and all of that's in your mind, and somebody walks by you and they speak, but you don't even see them, right? And the next time you see them, they're like, and you go, what? What did I do? And you don't even know it because you didn't notice. We know what it's like both to not see and to not be seen. In this case, Jesus saw her. And the next phrase is even better because he said his heart went out to her. Oh, yes. His heart went out to her. Because you see, when Jesus sees you, he cares. I want to give you a few examples of that. You can keep your finger in Luke and go to Psalms chapter 139. This beautiful chapter that shows you that Jesus sees you, and it's almost like he only has eyes for you. Psalms chapter 139. We're going to start at verse 1, but I encourage you to read this chapter later, maybe every day, until it sinks into your heart. It says, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You're familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go to the heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in the depths, you're there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, and your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day. For darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you. How beautiful. Did you know that God knew everything about you before you were even formed in your mother's womb? He knows all of your thoughts. He knows all of your words. He knows what you said in anger yesterday. He knows what you're afraid of from the day before. He knows everything about you, and when he looks at you, he cares. He cares. Let me show you a couple of others. Psalms chapter 34, just a few pages back. Well, it takes several pages back to go past Psalms 119. It's really long. Anyway, Psalms 34, verse 18. Says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. He cares. He's close to you when your heart is broken. And one more, let's look at Matthew chapter 9. You didn't know you were going to have a Bible journal today, did you? Matthew chapter 9, verse 36. It says, when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion on them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Jesus cares. When you're brokenhearted, when you're crushed in spirit, when you're harassed, when you're helpless, he knows everything about you, and he still cares. So that's what was happening between the eyes of Jesus and the eyes of this widow. He saw her predicament, he saw her grief, and his heart went out to her. But you know what he said to her? He said, don't cry. Okay, no, wait. Laura, you just said that the pain will never end, and that your heart needs to work and express both of those things. So why in the world did he say to her, don't cry? Well, because he was about to do something about the pain. He was about to do something miraculous. So he says in verse 14, he went up and he touched the bier they were carrying him on, and the bearers stood still. Yeah, they did. They're carrying this corpse. And Jesus walks up and touches the bed that he's laying on. That was like illegal for the Jewish people. He was making himself unclean. He's not going to be able to go to church on Sunday. He's going to have to go through all of this purification stuff. Nobody did that. And if you did it, it was because you were the mom, or the dad who couldn't help but touch their child. Certainly not some stranger who just walked up. Walks up in the middle of the funeral and just touches? No, people don't do that. But Jesus did it. Why? Because Jesus isn't afraid of your pain. He wasn't afraid to step into this widow's world and touch the place that hurts. And he's not afraid of yours either. He's willing to walk straight up into your life and touch what hurts. This is such an important part of the story, because that's what he's done for me, and I know that that's what he'll do for you. He'll walk right into your story and touch what hurts. Now this is a crazy thing that happens. Everybody stands still because they're in shock. And then he says, young man, I say to you, get up. And the dead man sat up and began to talk. Well, yeah, what would you say if you woke up in the middle of your own funeral? Like, put me down. What are we doing here? Yeah. Wow. Get up. And then he gave the boy back to his mother. The people, they were all filled with awe and praised God. A great prophet has appeared among us. They said, God has come to help his people. And this news about Jesus spread throughout Judea and the surrounding country. Wow. Okay. But God didn't do that for me. And maybe that's what you're thinking too. That'd be great if God just walked up into my pain and fixed it. But he doesn't always just fix it, does he? Not yet. Let me show you 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. It's in here somewhere. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Here we go. We're going to begin in verse 13. Brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. For we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and so we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. According to the Lord's word, we tell you that we who are still alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will certainly not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Jesus already stepped up to the grave and touched my son and said, arise and walk. He already did that. And he did that for my daughter, and he did that for all of you, and those that you have had to bury. He's done that for all of those who believed in him. He's raised them from the dead. After that, we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so we will be with the Lord forever. Therefore, encourage one another with these words. Yes, that day has already happened for me and for you. And there will be a day when we will see them face to face again. But there are lots of other pain besides the loss of a child. There are lots of things that hurt in this world. Lots of them. What about those things? Will he make those things right? Well, let's read the end of the book. Revelation chapter 21. What does it say? Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Can you taste the sweet taste of hope? Because it's okay to hope. God will do what he said he will do. He will. And it is not just for the life after this one. It is also about your life right now. Your life right now. Turn to Isaiah chapter 40. You know, if you think later, where was that verse? Because she was all over the place this morning. You just email me. I'll be glad to send them all to you. Isaiah chapter 40, beginning in verse 28. It says, do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding for you no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. So, when somebody literally asked me, are you going to keep believing in this God that you were serving and then he allowed all this stuff to happen to you? Are you going to keep believing in him? My first reaction was, that's how this happens. My husband was a pastor, so we helped people learn how to believe all of our ministerial lives, about 20 years, helping people struggle with their faith. And we watched many people leave. And all of a sudden I understood, this is how it happens. They decided that God wasn't good. They decided maybe he's not real. They decided maybe he doesn't care. Right here, this is my choice. Which way am I going to go? And then my very second thought was this. It was fear, pure fear, from the top of my head to the tips of my toes just coursed through me, and I thought, okay, if I choose to walk away from God, then I am saying that I don't believe there's a God. Therefore, there's nobody to help me. And if there is no God, then there is no heaven. And then I will not see my children again. Then they really are just dead, and there really isn't any hope. Are you kidding me? God is our hope. He's the same God he was today, that he was yesterday, and the day before. I've seen him work. I know his goodness. I'm going to keep standing on that. Hold on. Hold on. The Lord sees you. His heart goes out to you. When you believe this, you're well on your way to hope. Oh, but Laura, what if my faith is just too weak to try again? I got one more story for you. Mark chapter 9. We're going to start in verse 17. Now the disciples were trying to heal somebody and they were not successful at it. That's where we're coming into the story. In verse 17, it says, a man in the crowd answered, Teacher, I brought you my son who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. Ask your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they couldn't. You unbelieving generation, Jesus replied. How long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me. So they brought him. And when the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, how long has it been like this? From childhood, he answered. It's often thrown him into fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. If I can do anything, said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, oh, I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief. Do you hear the honesty in the boy's father? He knew the right answer. Oh, I do believe. But the truth was, no, I really don't, but I want to. Help me overcome my unbelief. When Jesus saw that a crowd was running to the scene, he rebuked the impure spirit. You deaf and mute spirit, he said, I command you come out of him and never enter him again. The spirit shrieked, convulsed him violently, and came out. The boy looked so much like a corpse that many said was dead. But Jesus took him by the hand, lifted him to his feet, and he stood up. doesn't matter how ugly the stuff is that happens in your life, because what was happening in this boy's life was pretty ugly, wasn't it? Doesn't matter. What it takes is faith. And if you don't have the faith, you can ask him for that too. Isn't that amazing? Even when you feel like, I don't have enough, you can say to Jesus, help me overcome my unbelief. And he honors that prayer. So you see, you can decide to believe that Jesus cares. You can decide you are willing to be healed. And you can ask for faith to believe, ask for enough faith to believe that he can heal you. And then you must open this book. You see, all of these stories are right here. These are true stories that God has written in order to teach you, in order for you to take your true story and apply it with these true stories. That's why he gave it to us. In fact, in Romans 15:4, he tells us that exactly. He said, for everything that was written in the past, everything that was written in the past was written to teach you, so that through the endurance taught in the scripture and the encouragement there, they might give you hope. You have been studying the words of Psalms these last few weeks. Stories of the writers of those songs and why they put those words to paper and why they wrote them in order to praise their God no matter what it is they've just gone through. Those songs are important because they tell the hope that is available in Jesus. I'm going to tell you today that the song you need, the very song, is hope. That's what will make your heart sing again. Hope. Hope that God is good. Hope that he'll keep his promises. Hope that he sees you and that he loves you and that he has not abandoned you no matter what it is you've gone through. Because that hope, like the verse we already read from Isaiah, when you hope in the Lord, it will renew your strength. Amen. You will mount up with wings as eagles. You will walk and not be weary. You will run and not faint. And that's how I stand here before you today. Is because I have chosen to hope in the God of the Bible and his Son, Jesus Christ. This is the answer. If you haven't read it, it is way more important than to just be read on Sunday morning or to just listen to somebody else who's read it. What is vital is that you read it and take your true story to this true story and see what it is that he wants to say to you. You want to experience joy again? Jesus cares about your tears and he wants to bring you hope. He will even give you the faith you need when you don't have enough. Open the Bible, let it speak to you, and let joy fill your heart with pain. Because someday, that pain will be lifted. He promised, and he always keeps his promises. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, I just thank you for your promises. I am so grateful for your goodness, for the Spirit that you give us willingly. And we choose to believe, and even with that, you give us the faith we need when we ask you. So, Father, that's what I ask you, that you give me the faith I need to do whatever it is you've called me to do. Help me be obedient. Help me step forward in faith. Because I want to see what you can do. Because you're amazing.